y'all, it's me. Hang around a while and I'll show you a technique that I used on this gorgeous, beautiful bedroom suit. And when I finished, I named her Enchanted Nights. This video is about the bed and about the nightstands, mainly about the headboard and footboard. But there's two more pieces to this set. There is a huge, like a chest of drawers, like huge. This whole bed was huge. Art looks really scared in this picture. I just wanted to show you how huge this bed really is. My husband is 6'2". He's a tall guy. Since this was a giant bed, everything looks giant to me, including this Blackberry. They're ginormous. You know, Jack and the Beanstalk, B5 from I smell the blood of an Englishman. I don't know what the rest of it is, but I bet that they had these blackberries. I ain't never seen a blackberry this big. I'm just saying. It's probably supposed to be a 2-bite blackberry, but it's a 1-bite blackberry. Pretty good. They say so myself. This is that special technique I was telling you about in the beginning. I take a damask pattern stencil and some sheetrock mud and lightly go over the whole entire pattern. I actually cut my stencil to make this little piece on the top. I couldn't let this video go by without me telling you about my granny and grandpa, how they were. They were just funny. It was almost like you wondered, were they even married? I mean, they were just hilarious. In church, Granny would sit on the second pew on the left-hand side her whole life. That's all I ever remember. That's where Granny sat. Well, my grandpa sat on the back pew in the middle. He wasn't sitting with Roble. Her name was Robeline, but he called her Roble. He wasn't sitting up there with Roble. He gonna sit on the back pew. That was just Grandpa. He was just gonna watch. Once this is dry, it is time to sand. I lightly sand with a sanding block using about 180 grit. I know it looks like I'm scrubbing this, but I'm really not. Just lightly sanding the hard edges off of this pattern. I'll never forget. We had a new pastor and his wife, but they were young. They were in their 20s when they came to our church, and I was just a kid. They had no idea they were married. They had zero idea. And I'll never forget her telling me, she said, we saw Sister Robeline and Brother Milam together in a car going through KFC. I looked over there and said, baby, look at that. There is Sister Robeline and Brother Milam. Ain't that the cutest thing? They are dating. That was the funniest thing. They were so not dating. They were together, but they weren't together. You just didn't know it. They were funny. They were just hilarious. Now to play in the paint. I love this paint. DIY chalk paint is highly pigmented. It is clay-based, no VOCs. It's amazing. You can slather it on and then use a water bottle to mist and move that paint around any way you want it. This is the base coat. I will apply another one later on. I get a message from this lady. She had found me on Marketplace and asked me, could I do this furniture for her? I went to her house and I walked into her house. It is absolutely stunning, gorgeous. It so reminded me of back in the day when my granny and my mom, they used to clean houses. Through the summer, as a 10-year-old girl, I would go with them. They would let me clean. They would pay me money. So that was awesome. And, you know, I didn't do a whole lot of cleaning, you know what I'm saying? I mean, especially if they had a piano. If they had a piano at that house, I played. and I played, and my mama would be hollering, "Get off the piano! We're paying you! You need to get in here and work!" Yes, ma'am. Wax time. I use Debbie's Design Diary DIY clear wax. This wax is all natural. It's made up of 5 ingredients, and it's got love added. That's number 6. I like to use a wax brush. This gives me more control. As the wax goes on, you can see that it changes the color of the paint. That's okay. It will lighten back up as it dries. Now, in the drying process, you're going to see something that is called a freak out factor. I promise you, it will be okay. The next day, when you get up and you look at your piece, you're going to see it a whole lot lighter and a whole lot smoother. Then it is time to buff it. It will be beautiful. But the houses that we used to go to, houses looked like mansions to me. So when I went into this lady's house, it got me to thinking about my granny. You'd never meet a more godly lady than my granny. I loved my granny. In this one particular home, I used to love to go to this house because they had a young teenager son. And of course, I'm years old. I've got this huge crush on this teenager guy. In my mind, he was just good looking. And I'm thinking, ooh, I get to go and I get to clean his room. Now, I don't know in my mind why I was even thinking that that was cool to do, because I'm like, he's a teenager boy, so you can only imagine how filthy his room was. Okay, y'all know, if you've watched me any length of time, y'all know what I'm going to say. I love white wax. This stuff just absolutely softens up a piece, gives it a vintage, dreamy look, which I love. I apply the white wax straight over the clear wax, getting it into all the cracks and crevices. I try to work in small areas at a time, wipe it back with a clean rag. If you get too much white wax, you can always use the clear wax as an eraser. Once this is dry the next day, just buff it. It's gorgeous. I remember my mom telling this. She said she went to find Granny. She couldn't find her. She kept calling her, "Mama, Mama." And this house was huge. "Mama." And she couldn't find her. And then all of a sudden she went to the teenager boy's room, and there Granny was, sitting on the floor, on her rear end, her legs out in front of her, and she's got this magazine, and she's flipping through this magazine with a perplexed look on her face. And Mama was like, "What are you doing?" And he was like, "I just found this magazine under this bed." She cleaned under the bed. She cleaned everything. And she had been down on her hands and knees and found this magazine under this bed. It wasn't a filtered stream. I'm just saying, it wasn't a Bassmaster magazine. You go figure what it was. This is Boo. He loves the wax. Every time he smells the wax, when I finish, he will always come over. And if I'm not careful, he will lick the wax. He does. He loves it. I don't know why, but he does. Okay, I know this looks really weird, but this is silver rub and buff. I slathered it all over my hands, and then I lightly, gently rubbed it all over the raised stenciling on this bed, and it just made it shimmer. Then I rubbed it all on the edges of the bed and the 2 nightstands. It is just shining. It is absolutely beautiful. And I remember Mama telling this story. She said, I looked at her and I said, "Mama, what are you doing?" "Frida Joe, I found that magazine under that bed, and this stuff ain't real." And she said, "I'm looking through this magazine. This is crazy." And so Mama goes over there and looks at the magazine, grabs it up, and when Mama sees it, she was like, "Yes, it is real." It was funny. Okay, the pieces have dried, and now I am buffing them with a clean cloth. The harder you buff, the more it will shine. Shove that up real quick and shove that back under that bed. That was the funniest thing. I think it was my mama's reaction that was so funny. My granny was just such a pure heart. That's just her. She just had no clue that there was something out there like that. I could tell you story after story about her. It was so funny. Here's the finished product. I will show you pictures of these same pieces once we set them up in the customer's home. So the day arrives. We are taking this gorgeous, beautiful bedroom suit back to its owner. Bed was huge. I needed muscles. So there's Art, my husband, and Brandon, our nephew, and he is a big old Texas boy. Had to have some muscles along. This is Texas. You see lots of trees, lots of pine trees, lots of road, just Texas country roads, miles and miles of Texas. You know what I'm gonna say? Everything is bigger in Texas. Here it is, the finished product. This bedroom suit was definitely a challenge, but I absolutely love how it turned out. I'm working on the other pieces of this bedroom set, and we'll post those pics later. Thank you so much for taking your time to watch, and as always, love y'all. For any of the products I used in this video, they are on my website. I will put the links in the description below. And to be in the know for the next video that's coming out, be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that post notification button to get all of the alerts.